So, you just watched Ballerina, and now your brain's spinning faster than a Ruska Roma roundhouse kick. What just happened? Who survived? Why did John Wick show up just to not kill someone? And seriously, what is up with that creepy cult? This isn't just another action flick from the John Wick universe. Ballerina throws you into a whole new world of secret assassins, family betrayals, and ancient organizations that make the high table look like amateurs. And at the center of it all is Eve Macarro, a ballerina trained to kill, running from a past she barely understands, and diving headfirst into a war she may have just started. Welcome back to your nerdy show. I'm your host, Spoiler Master. In this video, we're breaking down everything: the ending, the timeline, the connections to John Wick, and what Ballerina might be setting up for the future. If you're confused, curious, or just craving more Wickverse action, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Eve Macarro versus the cult. What just happened? So by the end of Ballerina, Eve has done the impossible. Again, in true Wick fashion. She goes from being a promising young assassin under the Ruska Roma to becoming the #1 target of a secretive, deadly cult. Let's backtrack. Eve's journey begins with vengeance. Her father, Javier, was murdered trying to save her from the very cult that once accepted her family. And by the time we hit the third act, she's storming their compound in Hallstatt like a one-woman army. Her mission? Burn it all down. And she does. She takes out cultists like she's been training for this her whole life. Because, well, she kind of has. The final confrontation with the cult's leader, known only as the Chancellor, is brutal, personal, and explosive. When she finally takes him out, it feels like a triumph. Like she's not only avenged her family, but also prevented a war between the cult and the Ruska Roma. But it's not that simple. So, who wins? Technically, nobody. Or maybe everybody loses, depending on how you look at it. Eve may have killed the Chancellor and obliterated their base of operations, but the cult isn't dead. Far from it. In fact, they respond by placing a massive bounty on her head. This is not some petty revenge move. It's a declaration of war, a public execution order, and it's going to attract every assassin, mercenary, and glory hunter in the continental underworld. And that's where the ending leaves us. Eve, victorious but isolated, heading off into an uncertain future. She's severed ties with the director, her standing with the Ruska Roma is compromised, and she's now the target of a massive bounty placed by a shadow organization with deep roots. It's the classic John Wick formula: triumph wrapped in a new kind of doom.
And you cannot change it.
The Bounty, setting up a Ballerina sequel. Let's talk about that bounty. It's not just a price on Eve's head, it's narrative gold. This is the big hook for a potential Ballerina 2, with the cult's leadership now in shadowy new hands, or maybe decentralized like a Hydra. Eve's next chapter could go anywhere. Will she go underground like John did, team up with the Bowery Kings network, or maybe even take the fight back to the cult's new leaders? And remember, this isn't just about survival anymore. This is Eve trying to reclaim agency in a world that's constantly trying to pull her back into darkness. A sequel could dive deep into that, the psychology of someone forged by trauma, trying to redefine what freedom means. Eve and John Wick, the intersection. Now let's get into the good stuff. How Eve's story overlaps with John Wick's. Fans got a real treat here. We don't just hear about John, he actually shows up twice. The first time's more of a nod. Eve sees John punch his ticket with the Ruska Roma, a rite that fans of Parabellum will recognize. This scene subtly anchors the film within the timeline of John Wick 3, right before John heads off to Casablanca to meet Sophia. The second meeting, though, that one's fireworks. The director tasks John with killing Eve to prevent a full-on war with the cult. He's got a limited window to do it, and at first, he plays along. He corners her, gains the upper hand, but then something unexpected happens. He lets her go. He gives her until the end of the window to complete her mission, and if she does, he won't pull the trigger. This is a huge character moment for John. It's less about bending the rules and more about choosing what matters. He sees something in Eve. Maybe a younger version of himself, maybe someone who still has a shot at getting out, and that's enough for him to offer an olive branch instead of a bullet.
Are chosen.
No! I chose this!
John helps from the shadows. But he doesn't just spare her, he helps her. During her final assault on the cult's base, John is there, as a sniper, silently covering her back, picking off soldiers she can't handle alone. Now, officially, he didn't complete his mission, but functionally, he did. By helping Eve take out the Chancellor, he preserved the peace. The director gets what she wants. No war. The cult's threat is reduced, and Eve survives, technically, without John having to kill her. It's classic John Wick logic. Find the loophole, exploit it with style. Timeline placement, where exactly are we? One of the most intriguing aspects of Ballerina is its placement in the John Wick timeline. The flashback that shows Eve's father rescuing her happens well before the events of John Wick 1, but the bulk of the film runs parallel to John Wick. Chapter 3, Parabellum. That's a wild choice, and a clever one. By placing Eve's mission in the background of Parabellum, the writers managed to expand the universe without stepping on the toes of the main story. You could be watching Parabellum and imagine Eve's shootout happening just off-screen. It all feels seamless. Even the bit where John leaves to meet Sophia syncs up with Eve's timeline. And here's the kicker. This also means that future Ballerina stories could happen alongside, or right after, John Wick. Chapter 4. There's a lot of storytelling space in that gap between Wick's 4th chapter and whatever comes next. The cult. Still a threat? Let's be clear. Just because the Chancellor is dead doesn't mean the cult is gone. This group has deep roots. It's ancient, secretive, possibly older than the High Table itself. And the fact that they can immediately issue a bounty of that size on Eve, that's power, that's reach, that's terrifying. We still don't know who's pulling the strings now. Is there a High Priestess, a council, a new Chancellor waiting in the wings? That ambiguity is intentional. It leaves space for the cult to evolve, to become the next big antagonist, not just in Ballerina, but potentially the wider Wick franchise. Remember how the High Table once felt like the final boss? Well, this cult could be the new endgame. More spiritual, more psychological, just as lethal. Family ties. What about Eve's parents? Here's a detail that slipped under a lot of radars. Eve's family history is low-key tragic and ripe for future storytelling. Her mother was part of the cult. Her father, Javier, joined for love, but grew disillusioned and ran. When he fled, he only took Eve, fearing that his older daughter Lena was too far gone. That's right, there's a lost sister out there. And if you know anything about this genre, that kind of setup never goes to waste. Lena could easily become a major player in a sequel, a loyal cult operative, emotionally torn about hunting down her own sister. Meanwhile, the mystery of what happened to their mother is still hanging in the air. Did she die for trying to help Javier escape? Or is she still alive, hiding in the shadows of the cult's new leadership? That's the kind of stuff sequels live for. The legacy of Ballerina doesn't just expand the John Wick world, it reshapes it. Eve Macarro isn't just a side character. She's a new lead, someone with her own emotional weight, her own mythology, and her own enemies. The film is a slow burn of character-driven action that explodes in its final act and leaves us with more questions than answers. And that's a good thing, because this isn't the end of Eve's story. It's the beginning of something much, much bigger. With the cult still in play, the Ruska Roma fractured, and assassins now gunning for Eve from every corner of the world, the next chapter could take us anywhere. And honestly, we're ready. Our nerdy thoughts. So what did you think of Ballerina? Did it live up to the John Wick standard? Are you hyped for more of Eve's story? And who do you think is running the cult now? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you never miss our deep dives into the wildest movies out there. Until next time, stay sharp, and remember, in the world of John Wick, there's always someone watching.